After taking his first teaching job at an inner-city middle school, an inexperienced man discovers that the students there are unaware of the human reproductive system. He thus decides to teach the children himself, infuriating a local reverend. A dissatisfied employee at a bagel shop earning minimum wage notices a couple kissing by the counter. He eventually responds that they do not have a bathroom because he believes they will only use it to carry out the deed. The customer then offers to buy all of the bagels if the employee allows them to use the restroom, but Ed is adamant about his decision. Her boyfriend calls Ed a loser after the woman recognizes the employee as the student teacher who taught them geometry a few years ago. When the staff member refuses the couple's request, the male customer takes bagels from the display case and hurls them at him. When Ed returns home from work, he finds his roommate JT making love to Ollie in his bed. He tells his friend that he has just changed the sheets and has not yet done the deed in his bed, which irritates him. JT then introduces the man to his new girlfriend after apologizing. Ed's roommate assures him that he deserves to be a teacher after he receives another rejection letter from a teaching position he applied for. The man is adamant that he must actively seek a job rather than wait for the one he wants. Ed storms into Mr. Washout's office the next day, claiming that his application was denied without an interview. His determination impresses the man, who reviews his resume and hires him for a middle school position in the inner city. When he returns to the apartment, he finds JT and Ollie getting ready to make out in the living room. He tells the two the good news and explains that it is an after-school study program because commuting to school may become an issue later. Although the roommate appears upset that they will not be seeing each other as much in the future, Ed believes it is a good idea to find his own place near his new job. He claims that it is best if the man does not come in on him and his girlfriend again. Ed soon meets his new landlord, Sydney, who invites him to join the other tenants in her bar downstairs. The man visits the bar that evening and compliments the excellent music. When he reveals that he played the oboe in a high school jazz band, Sydney points out that the instrument he chose is not particularly appealing to women. On his first day of work, the enthusiastic teacher introduces himself to his students as the after-school activity coordinator. When he discovers that the children are not thrilled to be there, they inform him that he has been assigned the task of supervising detention. Leon then asks if the teacher wants to hear him freestyle rap with his name, but in the end, the student uses the man's name in a vulgar manner, making the other students laugh. Shelley emerges from the restroom, sobbing, and announces that she is going to die. She claims to have cancer because she is bleeding from her nether regions, and Ed, perplexed, asks what she is talking about. When the man realizes it is the student's first time of the month, he rushes to the teacher's lounge to get a pack of feminine products, but Shelley does not know how to use it. When Ed asks if he can call her parents, she tells him she does not have a mother and that her father works. To assist with the situation, the teacher invites Allie, a nurse, to come over. Ed notices one of his students, Tito, waiting for a ride outside the building after school. Pilar, the teen's stunning adult sister, appears unexpectedly and introduces herself to the enamored man. Hector, the woman's boyfriend, arrives in his car shortly afterwards to pick them up. The teacher tells his friends at the bar that his students appear to know little about how their bodies work. Ollie then observes that, despite being chased, he is still able to teach the children about the reproductive system. JT then defends his former roommate, claiming that he has previous experience carrying out the deed. The friend believes Ed has not dated in a long time and advises him to have sex before committing to a woman he truly likes. To prevent his students from living ignorantly, the teacher decides to teach them about the reproductive system the next day. The irritated man directs Leon to the principal's office because he repeatedly interrupts class to make crude jokes. Fearing that his father will punish him if he discovers he has been misbehaving at school, the student begs him to reconsider. Later on, in the restroom, Ed is adamant about his decision. The teacher overhears Leon's father, Reverend Hamilton, reprimanding his son and washing his mouth with soap in the sink. Ed steps in to explain that he oversees the after-school program and informs the kids about the physical changes that come with puberty. In response, Reverend Hamilton claims that such discussions are better suited to a parent and child at home than with a teacher he barely knows and trusts. Sydney overhears the awkward small talk between the man and Trish, his blind date, at the bar that evening. The teacher eventually goes to the storage room to make out with the inebriated woman. Trish breaks down in tears, lamenting the fact that men only date her because of her reputation as a romantic partner. Ed comforts her by telling her she is a good person and that they do not need to make physical contact on their first date. However, because he is attracted to men, the woman interprets his respectful gesture as a sign that he is not particularly interested in her. When the teacher returns to the bar after his date leaves, Sydney tells him that she knew the man was not interested the moment Trish walked in. He admits that he did not particularly like the woman, but because he had not performed the act in a long time, he had to lower his expectation. Thus, the landlady claims that he is not a lesser man because he is not getting any action. He should stop whining about not having a girlfriend and being broke, she says. The next day, the instructor discusses the various illnesses that romantic relationships can cause. He asserts that avoiding all intimate acts is the only way to prevent transmission. If someone decides to participate, they must take precaution. Ed shows the students a slideshow of pictures of the illnesses because they are not listening to his advice. The man eventually teaches his students how to use male prophylactics properly. Tito wants to do the deed with his girlfriend Margarita, so he seeks Ed's advice after school. The man advises him not to act hastily simply because he wants to do the things he sees online. Pilar, who arrives shortly after, reveals that Ed is her brother's favorite teacher. Their mother wants to meet him, so she invites him to dinner tonight. He meets Lupe, the student's mother, that night, and she asks him to assist with dinner preparation. When Hector arrives, Pilar introduces the two men. As she sets the table, the woman reveals that she is a DJ and asks if the teacher is available to attend her shows. She goes into the kitchen, where Ed's boyfriend arrives and offers him a shot of rum. Hector then makes a subtle hint that he is aware of his feelings for Pilar by pointing out how unusual it is that the teacher accepted an invitation to eat dinner at his student's house. To sober up, the man splashes water on his face in the bathroom after consuming several shots of alcohol since his arrival. Seeing Ed's nauseous expression, Hector challenges him to eat a fish eye during the meal. The teacher swallows the fish eye, but after vomiting on Lupe, he immediately regrets his decision. The man flees the house, embarrassed, and heads to the bar. The landlady assures him that he should not let one bad night deter him from pursuing his ideal woman, as she has had her fair share of embarrassing situations. Ed asks JT and Ali to help him teach the students how to interact politely with people of the opposite gender the next day. The female students then enthusiastically pushed their attractive former roommate to show off his abs and muscles. Before long, the teenagers sit across from the two visitors and ask about potential future scenarios. After class, the couple discovers that the teacher was correct when she stated that the students knew little about their bodies and gender roles. When Pilar arrives later, Ed and Tito are hanging out outside the school. She explains that she and Hector are taking a break because the boyfriend is possessive. She accepts the man's invitation to the bar on Thursday night to watch an Afro-Cuban jazz group. When Reverend Hamilton complained about his class the next day, Washout summoned the teacher to his office. The man claims that they cannot teach his students about general adolescent health issues in the district, especially since the Reverend has specifically petitioned against. Ed maintains that he is only teaching his students about these subjects. He goes on to say that half of his students are already experimenting and need the class. Washout advises him to present his case directly to Reverend Hamilton. Ed notices later that there are more students than usual. They then explain that they wanted to attend the class after hearing about it. The newcomers leave the room after the man informs them that he will be unable to teach their regular lesson today. He then asks Tito in the hallway if it is okay for him to date his sister, and the teen says yes. After work, Ed speaks with the Reverend, who explains that human reproduction should not be taught in schools because teens will accept it as a normal biological act if God is excluded from the discussion, and do so frequently. He says he will be there when the teacher invites him to one of his classes to see how they approach the material with the respect and consideration it deserves. The man informs JT that he will be going on a date with Pilar once he returns to his former apartment. The friend advises him to be more aggressive when establishing intimacy in the bedroom, rather than his usual dating strategy of taking things slowly. Next, in an effort to improve the man's ability to make love, he administers medication to the teacher. Reverend Hamilton watches from the back of the room as Ed responds to the students' written questions in the following lesson. However, the horrified man leaves as the questions become less scientific and more crass. The Reverend responds that he is only rewarding and indulging the students' worst impulses when the teacher follows him. I gave the man a chance, he explains. However, everything he saw only strengthened his determination to end the program. After class, Tito informs Ed that his girlfriend wishes to perform the deed and requests a prophylactic. The student is far too young to engage in intimate activities that could have long-term consequences, so the man declines. But regardless of whether the teacher gives him a prophylactic, the teenager insists on doing it. Ed admits to giving Tito a prophylactic during the date, infuriating Pilar, who says he should have told her so she could stop her brother from doing this. Shortly after, the two storm into the house and find the teen kissing Margarita on the couch. Pilar orders the girl and the teacher to leave so that she can speak with Tito. This is entirely Ed's fault because he gave the student a prophylactic and taught him how to use it, the enraged woman claims when Ed says he can stay. Hector beats him up and confronts him about dating Pilar as he returns to his car. Following the altercation, the teacher picks up a courtesan and parks in a dark alley. Ed takes the medicine JT gave him, pretending it is for his headache, in preparation for the act. But before he can put the bottle away, the courtesan takes one for herself. Shortly after, the man discovers that the courtesan is not a woman when he sees a male organ protruding from beneath her dress. When the cops unexpectedly arrive, they arrest the two for the illegal transaction. When Ed finally returns to his apartment, he tells JT that he has never had sex with a woman. The friend then admits that he has always known this and that no one has ever believed his fabricated stories. The former roommate goes on to say that he should not be too concerned because it will happen eventually. Washout is waiting for the teacher in the empty classroom the next day. When the man says the after-school program is canceled until he finds someone else, he implies that he has been fired. A few days after returning to his previous position at the bagel shop, Sydney pays Ed a visit to see how he is doing. The man describes what happened to him in the last few days and how things came to be this way. He believes he would have had the necessary confidence if he could have performed the act only once. The landlady advises him to stop blaming his lack of experience with women and instead focus on what he needs to do to become the man he wants to be. The next day, Ed tells Pilar that he was simply trying to act morally and apologizes for what happened. He goes on to say that he intends to make a big show of his feelings for the woman. The man then assembles his oboe and, despite his lack of skill, plays her a song. Later, they kiss by the river while strolling through the city. The woman finally expresses her desire to take him to her favorite club this evening. Pilar welcomes Bobby the bouncer at the door that night, but she refuses to let Ed in. The woman then suggests that he wait for her to go somewhere else while she goes inside to greet her friends. The bouncer implies that Ed's date is far above his expectations when he tells him to leave after she leaves because she never leaves the club. When Hector unexpectedly appears to confront the man about seeing Pilar again, a fight ensues. The police arrive quickly and arrest the two men for their public altercation. Ed decides to speak with Reverend Hamilton tomorrow after realizing later at the bar that he needs to reclaim his job. The teacher organizes his students the next day, and they storm the Reverend's support group meeting. The man admits that he has never carried out the action and that he sometimes doubts his ability to teach the class. He insists, however, that the students learn what he is teaching them because, if they do not, they will most likely learn false information from the internet or their friends. The teenagers eventually express their support for the teacher, stating that the information they have learned has made them more cautious in the future. Leon goes on to say that he cannot discuss certain topics with his father. At last, the Reverend allows Ed's class to continue because he understands its significance. A support group member later expresses her admiration for the teacher's determination. She then exposes her bare chest to the man, inviting him to call her at any time. Pilar pays a visit to Ed's apartment that night and congratulates him on his return to work. She goes on to say that Tito informed her that the teacher admitted he had never committed the crime. Following her kiss with the man, the woman begins to undress in the bedroom. However, Ed suggests that they first go to the bar to celebrate with his friends. Pilar abruptly expresses her desire to be the man's first romantic partner. However, the teacher graciously declines, stating that he does not want to perform the act just to claim to have done it. He reminds her that he was stuck waiting for her outside the last time they went, implying that she prefers the club to the bar. Pilar claims she is simply trying to make him cool, and that this time will be different. The instructor realizes that he and the woman may not be as compatible as he initially thought. He responds that he is fine with her making fun of him by telling him that he should live a chaste life. Sydney tells Ed that he is now a man because he is finally in control of his life after he complains at the bar that he has yet to do the deed. After a year, the teacher has one of the most popular classes at school and has earned the respect of every student. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.